Hello and welcome to this introduction into the brewing process. Beer is made up mostly of water. In fact, around 95% of a pint of beer is water. The other ingredients include malt. Different types of malt provide different flavours or colours to the beer. Grist is the result of the malt being crushed. This is added to the mash tuns for mashing. Other ingredients include hops, which are added during the brewing process to give the beer an aroma and bitterness. These are dried swim bladders of fish. A substance called isinglass is obtained from these and is added to the brew during the later stages of the process. "24 hours before the process starts, 11 tons of malted barley is crushed to produce grist. In the mash room, the grist is mixed with brewing liquid and is heated to temperatures between 65 to 70 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. The 11 tons of grist is stored in grist cases before the grist is shared between the 4 mash tuns via chutes like these. Sparge arms within the tun then sprinkle water, which is from a tethanol borehole, onto the mash for 3 to 4 hours to release sugars into the brew. The water is treated with salts to keep uniformity in its taste. The spent grist is then cleared out of the mash tuns and is reused for animal feed. The brew, or sweet wort, is then allowed to steep for 30 minutes before it is drained into copper whirlpools below. The equivalent of 500 barrels of sweet wort is drained into the whirlpools, which constantly stir the brew while boiling. These are hop pellets. They are added to the brew and provide an aroma and bitterness to the solution. It is then boiled for 1 hour at 100 degrees Celsius. The solution, or hopped wort, is then gravity tested. The hopped wort is then cooled to 16 degrees before being drained into the fermentation plants. Once in the fermentation vessel, yeast is added. Each one of the fermentation vessels holds the equivalent of 35,000 pints. A gravity test is done immediately once full to measure the sugar solution. After 60 hours, excess yeast is skimmed off the surface and stored, as it can be reused. A 2-inch coating is left to protect the beer against bacteria. After 18 hours, another gravity test is performed to ensure the gravity is dropping and that the yeast is converting the sugars into alcohol. Before filling, the pipes are steam cleaned. Then the beer is pumped into the vessels. Each vessel takes up to 8 hours to fill. After 4 to 5 days, the process is complete and the beer is then chilled to 9 degrees Celsius over a 24-hour period. The beer is then sent to either the kegging or the casking department. Empty, returned kegs are delivered to the kegging plants. The empty kegs are rotated 180 degrees before being rolled into the cleaning and filling station. In the kegging department's processing plant, beer is filtered to remove yeast and flash pasteurised to eliminate any remaining bacteria. The beer is then matured for several days just below freezing. The kegs are cleaned with hot water and steam before being filled. The filled kegs are then rolled, turned again, before being moved to the capping and labelling station. The kegs are then packed, racked and stacked, then moved to dispatch, where they are stored for no longer than 24 hours before being shipped out to public houses and private customers. The shelf life of a keg is 56 days. Empty casks are returned by the draftsman on a regular basis. The casks are then put onto a conveyor belt, which takes them on their way for cleaning. The casks are de-shived and the keystone is removed before the cask moves down the conveyor, where it is turned on its side. Before being ushered onto the cleaning station. Here the casks are flushed with cold water and then steam cleaned, before moving to casking. Old labels are removed and new shives are knocked in, while a new keystone is placed on top. The keg then moves onto the carousel, where they stay until a casker uses it for casking. The beer with yeast and suspension is stored in a cask racking tank and is pumped into the casks. Dry hops for aroma and fining, which clear the beer, are added and the keystone is knocked into the cask before it is rolled onto the conveyor and moved to the dispatch. The standard shelf life of a cask is 35 days. The casks are labelled, racked, and stacked before being moved out onto the yard. Here they are stored for less than 24 hours before being loaded onto lorries for deliveries around the country. We hope that you have found this presentation informative, and on behalf of the company, welcome to the family.